Okay, this is Fraley's weekly blogs, and excuse the delay, but this is 7/17/2017 on a Friday night, and I'm just relaxing. I thought I would do a little bit of this on here and not stay on here too long, but I had a few things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to start off with Donald Trump, and it seems like he's always the thing to talk about, huh? Well, that's because he is the thing to talk about. He's what happens in the world. Everything's about him pretty much. But first I wanted to talk about CNN. And he's kind of in on this too, but somebody made what they call a meme, and I'm not that technical, and I don't make a lot of these GIFs and stuff, and they call them GIFs or short videos to make fun of people, and it's all meant for comedic kind of stuff, for comedy. It's not meant, it's just to get a laugh, but some people take it to the extreme, and they take it too seriously. And I'm not talking about the ones that's making it either. I'm talking about the ones it's made about. Saturday Night's made a living and a history of doing this on Saturday Night Live, of making fun of presidential candidates and stuff. But CNN took this really personal. They really got mad, and they didn't know how to. They couldn't handle it. It kind of blew up in her face, and I'm just going to kind of present this in a funny kind of way. They even went as far as, this is where they went to the extreme. They went as far as the guy that made this short video. They went to the extreme of trying to blackmail that poor guy, and it got out in the news, and other networks got it on the news, and CNN didn't basically know what to do or how to handle it. When they can't handle it, they took it too serious, and it just backfired on them, and they tried to blackmail the poor guy, and tried to really harass him and stuff. Well, I want to show you what happens to people when they harass you, especially news agencies like CNN, when they take it to the extreme. The Communist News Network or Crummy News Network. I want to show you a video. I've got it. I saved it on here. I wanted to show people. Let's see. This is not it. Let me get over here to where it's at. Just a second. I want you to watch this. Here's where one reporter got punched in the mouth, but it's his own making, and I kind of think the guy was in the right to do it too. From what I was watching, this guy follows him into his own business, the guy's business, and the guy didn't like it. He got a little bit too close, and here's what happens. There's an older guy that did this, by the way, so watch this.
I thought it was remarkable that CNN found the Reddit user who created the GIF of Donald Trump in the wrestling video and where he punches CNN. So the investigative team went back and found the guy.
You got your camera on? Huh?
Don't touch me, sir.
It only costs $35 to bust this man in the mouth.
Sir, who are you?
None of your business.
Then what do you have? Why are you touching me? Don't touch me. This is assault right now. And we'll call the police if you don't let
Good. Let's get him down here.
Call them. Your son's facing some pretty serious charges, and you seem to be back in business now. We'd like to...
Don't you dare attempt to go in my business. Don't you dare. Now you better get your shit and get it gone before that man gets here.
We'll be calling the police, and you'll be arrested for assault, sir. You just punched me in the
You
face.
trying to get in? No
Sir,
one
you were holding the door.
No one invited you in there.
And you didn't tell us not to go in either. And you just punched me in the face.
Yeah, and I'm gonna punch you again. Hello? No, I called the law, and then he tried to follow me in there.
When to back off.
I busted him in the mouth. I'm fixing to bust him again.
You go ahead, sir. If that's what you want to do, you go ahead. You'll be arrested for assault.
You know?
That's when reporters carrying it way.
We have it on camera.
I don't care what you got on camera. I never seen such a bunch of low lifes as you people anyway. If my son was arrested,
1608 Atlanta Road.
he'll do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. I know. The gentleman who just called you just punched me in the face, and I'm bleeding at this point.
Good deal. And I don't condone punching anybody in the face, but if you don't invite them in and they try to come in anyway, you got a right to protect your property and stuff the way I look at it. And so the guy got what he deserved. Maybe I don't want to feel sorry for the guy. I mean, he should have backed off, and that would have been the best thing to do, just back off. But he didn't do it. He got what he deserved. And so let me get me back over where I'm at. That was funny. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on that a bit and how CNN's really went to the extreme on a lot of things. And I just wonder if maybe somehow Donald Trump and Ted Turner are at war with each other. Maybe there's just something that Donald Trump did or that Ted Turner didn't like or something. So Ted Turner sicks the dogs on him and tries to run him down all the time. And again, Ted Turner's running him down or sicking his dogs on him at CNN's his dogs. He's sicking them on him, and now he's getting a little bit of it back in his face. And CNN, if they don't watch it, you're going to go down the drain. They're putting out lies and propaganda, and you never hear a positive word about Trump or what he's doing for the United States. It's always something negative. It's almost like MSNBC, too. It's almost like the Democrats own those two networks. And at least ABC's kind of staying in, keeping a low profile. They're not getting too involved. Maybe they learn their lesson somewhere along the line. But I just wanted to talk briefly. There might be something to that. I might have a theory going there. Maybe Donald Trump did something that Ted Turner didn't like a while back or years ago or something, and now he wants to get revenge on him. But apparently if that's true, then it's backfiring on him. But because Trump has his enemies, well, I mean, wrestling's fake and all that, but Trump and McMahon went at it on not WCW, but WWE. They went at it a few years ago, and I watched it, and I thought it was funny. I mean, I knew it was fake. I knew they were just putting on. But because Donald Trump clotheslined him and clotheslined Vince McMahon and started beating him up or acting like he was beating him up, to make the fans. It was entertainment. That's what it is. That's why they call it World Wrestling Entertainment. But anyway, this guy that superimposed the CNN logo over Vince McMahon's face, and that what you saw, or what this whole thing's about, is what happened. That video that the guy made, where Donald Trump clotheslines Vince McMahon, or if you look at the logo, CNN, CNN couldn't handle it. And the guy that you just saw on that other video on here I showed, that was the guy's father that made that meme or the video. And No, it was funny as heck. Anyway, that guy should have backed off. He got what he deserved. Anyway, CNN is putting out a lot of fake garbage news, and they don't even. A lot of times they don't check their sources. They don't see if the news is right. They just want to find something negative against Trump, and they put it out. And now it's backfiring in her face. But whatever happened to the days of what's the words for it? Libel, slander, even yellow journalism. As a matter of fact, I got kind of a paper here on yellow journalism. I got it out of an article I read. I don't know if you can read this. Your eyes are better than mine if you can read it. But a guy named Frank Luther Mott wrote an article, and he gave the 5 characteristics of yellow journalism. And I'm going to read them to you, and I'm going to see if you can tell if maybe CNN isn't guilty of some of this. Okay, number 1 of the 5 characteristics of yellow journalism. Number 1, scare headlines in huge print, often of minor news. Possibly. Number 2, lavish use of pictures or imaginary drawings. Possibly. Use of faked interviews, misleading headlines, pseudoscience, and a parade of false learning from so-called experts. Definitely guilty of that right across the board. I even saw one news clip, and I'll continue with this in a minute, but I even saw one news clip where one guy acted like he was in I believe it was there, or one lady acted like she was in Arizona, and another guy or another girl acted like she was in another state, and they were actually filming it in the same parking lot. And what happened is they would switch back and forth, switch their film, editing it back and forth, and one guy would interview the other one from way off, or supposedly way off, like just say from Arkansas to Arizona, and that's not right. But anyway, one guy's interviewing somebody in Arizona, and actually they're in the same parking lot, and they'd showed a car going by on the street, or no, it wasn't a car, it was a bus going by on the street, and they kind of did a split screen of the two people, supposedly in different states, but they were actually in the same parking lot, and it showed a bus going by on one side in Arizona, and then it went on the it went on the other side in the other state, so you knew it was from the same parking lot. And that's kind of idiot crap bull that they put on there, and they expect you to believe it. So I just wanted to give you an example of what I saw. And another number 4 of the characteristics of yellow journalism: emphasis on full color Sunday supplements, usually with comic strips. You see that more in newspapers, but it's possible too. Number 5, dramatic sympathy with the underdog against the system. Yes. They're totally against the system. CNN and MSNBC, as far as that goes, they were the established order when the Democrats were in, but now that they're not in, they've turned sympathy toward that side. If you don't believe it, watch them. Just watch it for 30 minutes or a half hour, and you'll see negative stories about Republicans, and and the reporters and the interviewers and the announcers and stuff, broadcasters on there, they'll sympathize with the people with the people against Trump, or anybody that's not Democratic, they'll sympathize with the Democrats, and it'll be easy on them, but they'll be hard on the Republicans, or not exactly Republicans, but the other side, whichever. You know what I'm saying? They'll sympathize with the underdog anyway, the more liberal point of view. They just don't. They don't don't get it. And again, like I said, I wasn't going to stay on here too long tonight. I was just going to give you a brief look at what I was talking about. And here's another thing. I kind of looked this up. And this is called the impact of basically the impact of fake news. I looked this up a while ago, or the other day, as a matter of fact. And I was going to do this sooner, but didn't get around to it. I may have got lazy or something. Public impact of fake news. And I'm going to read this to you. It's the results of false reporting in the media that can be made public, misinformation of events, mistrust by the public toward journalists, and even lawsuits against media for deliberate false reporting that damages citizens and reputations. Now, the Media Law Resource Center defines libel as slander. Libel and slander. Let me read this again. The Media Law Resource Center defines libel and slander as legal claims for false statements of fact about a person that are printed, broadcast, spoken, or otherwise communicated to others. False reporting in the media can also affect investment decisions, voting, assumptions about other cultures, and even what people fear on a daily basis. Now, doesn't that sound like what CNN does? Give a total negative point of view against for the underdog. They sympathize with the underdog, and then they put out fake reports, fake news. They even may even exaggerate things to a bit. And I'm charging this against CNN, and I urge other people to see what's going on too and do the same. Speak up against it, because you can see that it's not right. And in any other era, any other time, they could be sued and probably for every penny they got, and they probably could be even shut down. And if they probably should be shut down for doing this. Any other era or any other time, they would be. And so it doesn't make any sense why that it can keep happening. Of course, you're probably used to seeing fake news on Facebook and other sites, but Facebook's more of a social media thing that's for entertainment. And but when you're looking for in-depth news, you don't go read it off Facebook, or even most of the time not off the internet. That doesn't mean all internet sources or websites or clips or videos are all false, because that's not true. A lot of them are. There's a lot of bad sites out there, you might say, but there's a lot of good ones too. A lot of good research. A lot of your top universities and stuff put that stuff on there, and even then it might be biased toward liberals, because it seems like universities are just like CNN, and where a lot of universities are like CNN and MSNBC. They seem to be a lot of bias and sympathy for the underdog, kind of like yellow journalism. It's all slander and libel, no matter how you look at it. It's made for the purpose of deceiving somebody. It's called the art of deception, and they're good at it, and they know how to do it. So Um, can't have that. If you're gonna watch the news and get any kind of depth of truth, then you've got to be able to trust your news sources, especially on TV, or where they should. I'm sure they take some kind of sworn oath of integrity where they have to swear an oath of truth and morality and stuff. So, because the news is not for entertainment, it's to inform you, to educate you on what's going on in the world, in your daily lives, and nightly too, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, what else was I going to talk about before I get off here? Oh, let's see oh yeah, I wanted to show you a little bit the difference between, again, I hark on this and I go back over it because I stomp a message into, I want to stamp a message into people's brains to make kind of a dent in it, because it seems like there's a lot of concrete to bust through out there, so you need some kind of jackhammer to do it. Either that or you just have to chip away at it a little bit at a time. And when you're talking about liberals and left-wingers versus right-wingers, then you're going to have, when you're talking about liberalism, you're going to have to chip away with it, because that concrete is very thick. And they have no idea what's going on in this world. They only have their own point of view in their sick, twisted, commie, pinko, demented minds. And they're demented, and they can't come out of it. They can't snap into reality. They can't accept Donald Trump as the president, and they can't accept the changes he wants to make for the better. They only want to follow somebody around. They only want a leader that will give them handouts and entitlements and things of that nature. So, but what I'm getting at here, my point is, I wanted to look at the Constitution a little bit. Now, your progressives are mainly liberals, but there's some Republican progressives too, believe it or not. It's all one big scheme, and it's been going on for over 100 years now. They've been trying to push this agenda, but they're doing it on a system called gradualism, getting the government so messed up that it may never straighten up. But luckily, because of populism and people like Donald Trump, he can drain a swamp. And when I say drain a swamp, I mean he can get these people out gradually, and it'll take some time, but he's gradually been doing it. He has to go around the system here and there to do it. Even the judges have bucked up against him lately, but he seems to be making a little bit of a comeback in that area. The Supreme Court ruled on his side as far as the ban goes of the 6 nations, and I forget on my is it Libya, Somalia, Yemen, is it Qatar? Might be Qatar. Where else? Anyway, those 6 nations he banned. But anyway, I want to go back to the Constitution before I get off into any more tangents, because when I start talking, I do that. Anyway, the progressives, for the most part, most of them, basically, let's just say Democrats and liberals. See, when they first had the Constitution, they had Federalists and they had Anti-Federalists. Now, Federalists believed in a strict interpretation of the Constitution, and that means they were very conservative, and that's what I agree with for the most part. Very conservative on things, And now you take your anti-federalists, they were, you might say, they had a liberal interpretation of the Constitution. That means they were more able, they were in their own minds, they wanted to think things through a little bit more and be a little bit more lenient here and there, whereas the more conservatives wouldn't. So they were more lenient on certain things and had a different interpretation of the Constitution, a less strict, let's just say less strict interpretation of the Constitution. And let me see what else I was going to say. Now, as far as the the Constitution mainly comes from, of course, was provided because of the Declaration of Independence. After we got that, then we became a nation, and then we declared our freedom from England, and then we became our own system. We wrote our Constitution, and the Federalists, that is, believe that way. They don't believe that, basically what I just said, they don't believe that the government is, they're strict on certain things. They're stricter about how they see life in general and the laws they pass, and they don't think that the Federalist, or nowadays you might call them Republicans or right wingers, they don't believe that people should rely on the government. They believe in and basically they don't believe in big government, less government and more free enterprise and free markets and such, kind of laissez-faire kind of sentiment there. But they whereas the now your liberals, or the anti-federalists, you might say, they still are. Only nowadays they've went to the extreme. Little by little they've went to the extreme, and now they believe that that the Constitution basically comes, or is for that, how do I put this? Trying to think how to put this. They believe that the liberals believe that the Constitution was written for the purpose, because this is the way they interpret it. Constitution was written as the government, and that the people are entitled to certain things because of the Constitution. They believe in entitlements. And nowadays this went to the extreme. They believe in big government. They believe in bureaucratic messes, because you ever heard of anybody that overanalyzes something, or a baseball player gets in a slump because he overanalyzes his hitting? He can't hit because he overanalyzes what's going on. Instead of getting up there and using his hands and relaxing and relying on muscle movement, he tries to think about it too much. And that's basically what liberals do. They think too much about things, and they get twisted and demented because of it. They overthink, and they not only do they get themselves in a slump, they get the whole nation in a slump. The nation becomes a third world country because of it, because they got too much of a bureaucratic mess. If you don't believe me, look at 2 states. They've done that. Illinois, now they've raised their taxes, I forget, another 35% or something like that, because they can't pay because they can't afford to do public services like, I don't know, firemen, police, local government, things of that nature. They can't afford all that, so they had to raise the taxes. California and Illinois is like that. Illinois is getting just like California. They both got their field of liberals, and I'll get in more into this in a minute, but they got so many liberals out there, and there's a reason why they're liberals, and I'll get into that. But the government officials they do have, and the public servants or the services they provide, the people that run those and work for those and work there are getting pensions and everything else that are ridiculous. And because of that, they have to raise the taxes on the people. It's like its own little oligarchy or something, got a few running everything and getting rich off the little guys. And of course, they protect the little guy, but he's forced to have to live under those big guys because they're getting all the money and they have to give. It's almost like the bad guy, the big bad bully, is taken from the little guy, but he'll let the little guy survive if he'll let him be the boss. You know what I'm saying? The little guy, he can't get ahead because he's busy giving all his money away or paying it to the bigger guy who's supposedly supposed to be protecting him and providing services, but it's basically just draining them of all their money. And that's basically what's happening. And you ever wonder why there's so many liberals in big or states like California and Illinois? You want to know why it's so liberal? Think about it. I thought about this the other day, and I bet you if you really checked and did some serious research, of course I hadn't done this, but I got to thinking about it, is those people they're almost like a third world country. The rich will survive, and the little guys over there in those states will basically be taxed to death and have to give all their money up, and they won't be able to have a decent living or make it in life. And liberals can't see that. The Democrats used to be on a different level of thinking than they are now, but that's changed the last 30, 40 years. Because I can remember when I was a kid, and the Democrats used to be noted for helping the poor and stuff, but now they put on a fake mask like they are helping them, but they're basically, just like I just showed you, the states, they're getting all their money and they're not really helping them. They're not helping them get jobs. They're not making any progress with the economy or trade in the world, and they're just sinking the country further and further in debt. And that's what's happening to those states. And they can't afford to cover their services, so they almost go bankrupt. So that what do? They have to raise the taxes, which puts a lot of people out of business. A lot of businesses go to Mexico, or some even move to other states. I heard about some groups from California moving their companies to Texas because the tax system was a lot better, and they weren't strangled or smothered under the huge tax system like they have in California. And but anyway, you can draw your own conclusions about that, but it's kind of like it's kind of like they're trying to make everybody poor in those two states because of their agenda. And They just want to drain people. Okay. And another thing, the president has, there's two more things I want to talk about, and then I'm gone. The president has a right as far as immigration goes. If he deems that there's something, if there's a danger to the protection of American society and its people and his country, that's what he's elected for, to protect and serve the United States of America and its people, and to keep them safe. And he has a right, and it's called, presidents have a, it's called plenary powers, and it's basically over immigration. He can decide how many people come in to the United States and who comes into the United States, when and where and whatever. He has the power to do that according to the Constitution. Of course, you got some judges who think they know better, and they tried to play this down, but it didn't work. And basically, the Supreme Court overruled the lower courts, and so he has a right to halt immigration if he wants to. That being said, I'll go on to this other thing. Nikki Haley, the what is it? She's the ambassador to the UN. She says that she basically told the UN that Trump cut. Let me see. I got it wrote down here. $600 million in aid to certain countries, especially countries like the Palestinians next to Israel. Palestinians, the aid, that the money that she was providing, well, she just told them they were going to cut it. The people, the aid that the Palestinians or Palestine was getting, a lot of it was going to the terrorist efforts to build secure rockets so that they can send them over into Israel. So she cut it, and or didn't cut. Their budget was cut because of that, because they were using that money instead of to help their people. They were using it to get rockets to try to destroy Israel. So, and then they probably didn't like that, and they don't like it. But that's what's going on in the world. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of what was going on, and so I'm going to say good night for tonight and bid you farewell till next time. This is Fraley's Weekly Blog signing off.